very happy that you're all here this evening and here to grow in our confidence together and in our true self-confidence, our spiritual self-confidence as women. So yeah, I'm really excited to see you all here. Throughout, if there's anything you want to share in the chat, any questions, or any sharings that come up, I warmly invite you to do that. So let's get started. Okay, so today's session, I'll just do a brief introduction for those of you who don't know to Venus. We'll speak a bit about self-confidence, background in terms of traditional self-confidence, and then how self-confidence specifically can apply to women as well, and particular issues that women have in regards to their self-confidence. We'll do a little exercise for releasing negative self-talk, and then we'll move on to what is true self-confidence, the self-confidence that we can all access very easily, actually, as women. And we'll go through 5 extremely practical, actionable keys that you can start with from today and from this webinar. In fact, we'll begin during the webinar to unlock this profound and unshakable self-confidence. And we'll have a few moments at the end for questions and sharing. So I see a lot of familiar, beautiful faces here, which is wonderful. But for those of you who don't know, Venus is a collective of women and friends who aim to really practice what we preach. We do a lot of webinars and activities, workshops to do with femininity, spirituality, tantra for women, and very importantly, a regular women's circle. And our mission is through these activities to facilitate the spiritual awakening for all of humanity through awakening women and helping women to become more free, to connect to these authentic feminine values, and helping these values through us and then through our relationships to have this kind of ripple effect where these values take their rightful place in the world around us. So, women and self-confidence. So kind of typical definition of self-confidence is that it's this self-assurance, and it's the kind of value judgment based on our ability, power, certain kind of specific criteria that we have to kind of judge confidence on. This is the kind of traditional view of it. And here we have a couple of kind of psychotherapeutic definitions of it. So self-confidence, the one from 2014, involves self-respect and having the courage to speak about who you are, what you like, and what you believe. There's also a lot of misunderstanding, I feel, especially amongst women. And I think this is something that is we're kind of conditioned around from an early age as women, that self-confidence can be confused with arrogance, perfectionism, selfishness, vanity, kind of being self-sufficient or pleased with yourself, or being a bit of a show-off. And what women will often do, and you see even little girls doing this from a young age, is kind of play their abilities down and their confidence down in order to ultimately, I guess, seem less threatening to other women, because there's this tendency of judgment and comparison. But I think also to not seem kind of arrogant or big-headed. But yeah, self-confidence, and especially true self-confidence, is certainly none of these things. It's something quite different. So there have been quite a few studies done on this. There was one that I spoke about in the event description, a KPMG study that showed that women were, relative to men especially, very unlikely to ask for a raise. it's kind of common knowledge that women overall in many jobs are paid less than men for doing the same job. I can see a few of you nodding. It's kind of, it's, this whole glass ceiling thing is pretty common knowledge. And I think this isn't even necessarily something that we can blame on the system. I think it's that a lot of times women don't actually feel confident to bargain, to ask for that raise, to value their work in the same way that men value theirs, because men are encouraged from a young age to be outgoing and confident, and it's kind of seen as a key masculine characteristic, and not so much for women. So women, when they fail equally, they tend to attribute this failure to their own lack of ability or effort. So this kind of self-judgment, self-blame, it's because I didn't try hard enough, it's because I didn't do this or that. Whereas men, and these are based on a few studies, right? This is from the Atlantic Journal. So men, on the other hand, tend to, if they fail, say that this is about something outside of them or the difficulty of the task. So they don't kind of internalize it in the same way that women do, in this way that kind of impacts their inherent self-confidence. And women can tend to have a tendency to characterize failure more in a global way. So my relationship broke up, that means that I failed in love and I'm a failure in relationships, and all of my relationships always were and always will be terrible. This kind of taking one incident and applying it to the whole of life. This also applies to the way that women see themselves. I know that women who are on a kind of self-development spiritual path, especially one that integrates the body, like a lot of the work we do here at Venus, begin to practice self-love and looking at our bodies from a different perspective. But many women don't. These Dove studies, there was one that found that only 4% of women worldwide self-evaluated as beautiful. And I think, a big part of the kind of trap that women fall into with ourselves and with each other is this modesty and false modesty. So, the concept of modesty, that women should be modest, is something that is still common in a lot of cultures, I think, including in European culture, that it's good to be modest, that, you shouldn't be too threatening, and you should kind of downplay yourself, and kind of not speak about your achievements and things, and also this sense of false modesty. So even if women don't necessarily believe that they aren't beautiful or that they aren't smart or something, they will often say things to give this impression, often to kind of people please and be accepted. So there are a lot of things that we say to ourselves that aren't true. And a lot of the negative things that we say to ourselves are really quite damaging if we say them repeatedly. But they're just words, and their impact, once we see that they're just words, their impact can be really reduced, and we can even come to see them as kind of funny, some of the things that we believe about ourselves, or that we think we believe about ourselves. Because humor, by the way, is one great way of increasing confidence, increasing this lightness and this happiness, and also kind of laughing at the negativity, or laughing at the ego, or that voice that tries to pull us down, because the closer we look at it, the more we see often that it's kind of ridiculous. So what I'd like us to do briefly, we're just going to have maybe 2 to maximum 3 minutes to do this, to write down on a piece of paper, or on your phone, laptop, in the chat box, whatever you have to hand and is best for you. Paper is great because afterwards you can literally throw it away, because this is a release exercise. So once we've written these things down, we will have a releasing of them, and that's very easy to do with paper. So the exercise is like this. We'll spend a couple of minutes just writing down, kind of stream of consciousness, don't overthink it. What are the negative beliefs that we hold about ourselves that hold us back and that stop us from being confident? So whatever your story is, beliefs about your capabilities, I'm not smart enough, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not pretty enough, my English isn't good enough, my Spanish isn't good, there's thousands of these reasons that the mind comes up with. So we're just going to take a few minutes to write down these limiting or negative self-beliefs that we have that stop us from feeling confident about ourselves in any situation. Okay, so just a couple of minutes to do this. If anything is not clear, please unmute yourselves and ask a question, or you can type it in the chat. And we'll just have a couple of minutes with ourselves doing this reflection. Okay, so we'll just have 30 seconds more to finish off writing down these negative things that we believe about ourselves, our capabilities, things that stop us from feeling truly self-confident. Okay, so we come to a stop. Put down your pens or stop typing and just look at what you wrote. Just read them as words. So, try not to attach too much into how they make you feel or into their kind of wider impact in your personal life. Just see them just as words. And these are just words. They're not real. You thinking them or writing them or speaking about them doesn't mean that they are true, doesn't make them real, and doesn't actually give them any power over you if you choose for them not to have. They are just words. It's just negative energy. So if you want to share any of these things in the chat, I think we'll probably find that a lot of us have the same beliefs and a lot of us looking at each other, because we're often very harsh on ourselves, especially as women. And then, if you heard your friend or your colleague saying the same thing, you would you wouldn't believe them. You just always wouldn't agree with these negative things that they share about themselves. So why do we allow ourselves to speak to ourselves in such a negative way? So Erica, I was raised and motivated to become an independent woman and find it difficult to shake off the masculine aspect of it. It's challenging to rest in my true feminine. Yes, Erica, you've come to the right place. This is a big part of what we do at Venus, is connecting to our true femininity. And yes, you're right. A lot of us are taught that it's somehow more effective to be masculine. If you want to be efficient and get things done and be successful and be strong and be safe even, you have to be masculine. And it's absolutely not the case. There is a huge amount of power, of soft power, of impact and love, and a lot of really powerful things come through the feminine, especially the feminine when it is not repressed and is allowed to fully express itself. One of the specific aspects of this true self-confidence is that it's something that women can access very easily, because it's connecting through qualities which are often more easily accessible to women than men. Whereas a lot of traditional self-confidence guidelines, webinars, things that we're kind of taught to follow for self-confidence are more accessible for the masculine, because it's more about kind of actions and externalization. And yeah, so this is a different approach. So these words, you are releasing them. Okay, they hold no more power over you. If it's a piece of paper, you take it out, you scrunch it up, you throw it away. If it's something that you typed, you select it and you delete it, and it disappears into the atmosphere and it's gone. It's just words, and they're silly. They don't really mean anything. Okay, sorry, just carry on with the share. Good. So true self-confidence. So this is a self-knowing and a self-understanding that you as a woman have certain capabilities and gifts, and that you can share these with the world. And in fact, all of us are here as a unique piece of the puzzle. Every single person who is here on this planet is here for a reason, and we all have something unique to contribute to the life here. And it's different for all of us. There are no two flowers that are the same, let alone two human beings. So comparison is a pointless exercise. Your capabilities and gifts and what you have to bring to the world is unique, and it's a very important part of why you are here. And in fact, your gifts and your capabilities give you a great clue about what you are here to do. And having a lack of self-confidence in those capabilities and gifts can in fact be one of the biggest obstacles to realizing our purpose, and the reason why we're here. Because if we don't believe in our own capabilities and our own gifts, then we don't take those steps and that action to share them, to put them out into the world, to believe in them, to manifest them. So, a lack of self-confidence is serious business, because it can really stop us from doing what we've come here to do. So humility is an important attitude in this true self-confidence, this feminine self-confidence, because it's not a self-confidence that is based on things that you necessarily have done or achieved, because you're this and you're that and you're the other. It's more about recognizing that there are certain qualities that you are kind of the keeper of rather than the owner of. They are gifts that were given to you to come through you. And it's great to be really grateful for those, but not to claim ownership, that, they're coming through you, and that's a gift and it's a blessing, but they're not necessarily yours. It's not necessarily because of something you've done. They can be enhanced because of things you've done. And equally, they can be, it can be detrimental to not do things to kind of work on or expand these gifts. But yeah, they aren't there innately because you studied or did this or went to the gym or anything like that. So this true self-confidence is a lot based in belief, trust, and faith. And these are three things that women can access often more easily and more readily than men. Having trust and faith, whether it's in other people, whether it's in your beloved or your child, or women often have a high level of trust, sometimes in people who don't necessarily merit that trust and that faith, but we have trust and faith in them anyway. When we put that trust and that faith into our true self, we can really get great results. really, really great things can come through us. So it's believing in this power also of the big self. And we'll speak a little bit more about that a bit later on. But rather than the small self, the I achieved this and I did that, and my life is good because I have this and that, and I feel confident because I look good and I've got a new dress. And, this is the small, limited I that's kind of based in the thought and in proof and in judgment and in things that we have materially often. That's the kind of ego, the small self. The big self is something beyond that, something less tangible, something more about qualities, something that is beyond us. And how you connect to that will be specific for you. There are kind of different ways of connecting to the big I, and we'll look at that a bit later on. But yeah, the important thing is to connect to something beyond the limited ego, and to have faith that there is something which has more power than you as the person.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Are there other people? Is it just me and you?
There's lots of other people, so perhaps if we'll have a specific time for questions and answers later. In the meantime, if anyone wants to share anything in the chat, that's probably the best thing to do.
All right.
Kind of answer them as we go along.
All right, thanks a lot.
If you have a question, please do type it in the chat.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you. So we're going to get into the 5 keys. So the 5 keys to activating this true self-confidence in ourselves. So we'll go through this first key, and then I'll come back to the chat, and we'll take a few questions if there are anything that's come up. So number 1, stepping out of the comfort zone. So a lot of times we stay with what we know and what is comfortable, and we keep doing things often that we know we'll be okay at or will succeed at. And it can be scary, exciting. It can give us this sense of expansion into the unknown to try something totally new. But there is this saying that the good things happen outside of the comfort zone. Life begins outside the comfort zone. So while we keep repeating our patterns and doing the same thing and staying where we're comfortable, we're not really giving ourselves the opportunity to expand and to know better what life is about for us. But we're also not giving ourselves the opportunity to prove to ourselves that we can achieve things that we previously might have thought we couldn't. So the thing about self-confidence is that it's not a certainty. That's something a little bit different. Self-confidence is a belief in potential and possibilities. So when you have self-confidence about doing something, there's no guarantee. No self-confident person is, especially in the beginning, saying, okay, I'm going to take on this new task and I'm 110% sure that I'm going to nail it. It's going to be perfect. I know very few human beings who would be capable of saying that, because we just don't know what's going to happen. But what self-confidence is this belief that we can do it, that it's possible, that there's a potential. And then when we step out of the comfort zone and we try these new things, we start to see that more is possible. And we begin to prove it to ourselves, basically. Now, I know I said before that this type of self-confidence is not based on proof, kind of tangible proof. But we can show ourselves that we are capable of kind of pushing the limits that we set for ourselves, because human beings tend to set limits for ourselves, which are, we're capable of doing so much more. We really have no idea what we're capable of as human beings, physically, emotionally, energetically. And, to move towards that, we have to push ourselves. We have to get out of the comfort zone. So this little diagram here, so it has this, the fear zone, and you have to push through the fear zone. And the fear zone is what often kind of pushes us back into the comfort zone if we don't push through it. The excuses, oh no, I don't want to do that now. No, I'm not feeling confident. Oh, that person will think badly of me. So you need to push through the fear zone. And once you've done that, you get into the learning zone, where you learn, you grow, you deal with challenges, problems. And a lot of people, if they make it past the comfort zone, they stay here. It's what happens in education, for example. But then when you get into the growth zone, that's where you can really start to achieve these things like finding purpose, like setting new goals, these ideals of life, which are really quite profound and can lead to a much deeper self-fulfillment than if we'd stayed in any of the previous zones. So are there any questions so far about anything that we've discussed so far? Is there anything in the chat that I need to look at, Kati? No? Okay, great. So we can continue. Okay. So the second key, self-awareness and self-responsibility. So these are two very big ones. For those of us who are on any kind of spiritual or self-development, self-growth path, awareness is often the very first step in changing something. In order to change something, you have to first be aware that you want to change it or that it could be better. It's really the first step. And self-responsibility is, of course, through your thoughts, your words, your actions, the way that you create the circumstance of your life, taking responsibility to act upon that awareness in order for things to change and to move in a new direction. So yeah, it's this recognizing that you're responsible for your happiness. You are the creator of your life. Your life is your work of art, and you can make change in it. No one else is going to do it for you. We often rely on outside sources, people generally, and often, especially women, often in relationships, rely on their beloved or their other half kind of changing their life or making things happen. It's this fairy tale, that everything will change when. I'll be super happy when. If you're waiting for the when, you're going to be waiting for a long time, because, also the when can come and then you're not happy and then you're waiting for the next when, and it's kind of this constant waiting game. Whereas if we use these tools of self-awareness and responsibility, there is no when, there's only a now. And you're kind of constantly reevaluating your life based on the moment, bringing your awareness based on the moment, taking new decisions based in the moment, new actions. And this is self-responsibility, constantly reflecting and acting based upon what you find, and based upon what's inside you, what's your body showing you, what's your heart showing you, how do you need to act differently now? And women have this potential to transform really fast and to change really fast if they listen, if we can listen to our hearts and our bodies, if we can tune into source, to spirit, we can get this constant feedback system. And that's part of this true self-confidence, is to, through these keys, start opening to this feedback system and to allowing it to work through you and to work in your life. And self-knowledge is so important for women. Learn what you like, what you don't, what makes you lose yourself in bliss. And an important part of this is feeling it. So this often starts with the body. The body is really our best friend, not only in terms of taking us through this life, but in terms of giving feedback, in terms of emotions, in terms of what's going on, when we start to listen to the body, it really tells us a lot of things we need to know. So feeling it, knowing it, connecting the awareness, the understanding with the body in this feedback system, and voicing it. So don't expect anyone else, even your beloved, to know your needs. You need to feel and express them for yourself. I don't know about you guys, but I've certainly experienced previously that, I would kind of be waiting and expecting, especially erotically in lovemaking, expecting a man to understand, just to get it, and to know after we'd made love a few times that he would start to know what I liked, what I needed. We often kind of wait for them as if they're, some kind of psychics or something. They're not. They're really not. So, we need to know ourselves, and we need to feel and express these needs. We need to give them voice. And your body and your erotic energy are great helpers here, because instead of kind of repressing things or tuning out from the body, detaching during erotic experiences, or focusing on something we need to feel, or something we should be achieving, or a way we should be acting, manifesting, when we're focused on all of these things, we can often detach from ourselves and from what we're really feeling. And I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. Feel free to share in the chat. I hope I'm sure it's not just me. There's this reluctance to express our needs and our feelings for fear of being rejected, and it's really, really important for us as women to understand ourselves and tune into our bodies, our intuition, to know ourselves and to be able to express this. It's not a guessing game. We can really know ourselves, and it's a very good thing to be able to understand yourself and know what you need and want. So we're going to do a little exercise here with strengthening your voice and strengthening your yes and your no. And this can be applied in erotic interactions. It can also be applied in work, in friendships, in pretty much any situation, whether it's social or wherever it is. Because one of the habits of truly self-confident women is that their yes becomes powerful. When they say yes, it's because they really mean it. You're not saying yes just to please someone, or you're not saying yes more than you really can. You're not overcommitting. You are only saying yes when it's really a yes. And you're comfortable with saying no when it's really a no. So we're going to play some music. And I don't know if any of you played like musical chairs when you were a child. Hopefully that wasn't just an English thing. So there's a circle of chairs and you're kind of getting up, and then when the music stops, you have to sit down. So if we were together in the same space, which would be lovely, we would be doing that with each other. So we'd be walking around, and then when the music stops, you would go to the person who you were closest to and you would practice your yes and your no. So no questions. It's not an answer. It's a statement, a yes or a no. As we are online, we're just going to be doing it with ourselves. But we're going to play some kind of dynamic music. And when the music stops, you stop where you are. And we're going to practice, first of all, I will guide you a bit. Sometimes it will be a yes, and sometimes it will be a no. But whatever it is, I want you to say it fully, like to really feel it, like to really embody this yes, or to really embody this no. Then the music starts, you keep on walking, you can dance, you can do whatever around your room, but it's important to kind of keep up this movement and the little surprise element. Okay, so you can turn your cameras off if you want for this, however you feel comfortable. And we'll just spend a couple of moments. The music will stop, I will say yes or no, and you'll fully embody your yes or your no. Let's do it. Yes. No. Yes. Yes. No. Yes. 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 No, no, no. Yes. And now finally, we'll just have 30 seconds of integration. During this time, you can either sit down and reflect on how the yeses and the nos felt, or I know it's short because this is a short webinar. So if you feel like you need to keep going with either the yeses or the nos or both, you just carry on, walk around your room, do your own thing with your yeses and nos. And for those of you who are ready to stop, we just close our eyes. Feel into your body. How does your body feel? How does your heart feel? How does your womb feel, or your ovaries, your yoni? How is your voice different? How is your posture different? Just observe these feelings. Okay, if any of you would like to share on the chat, I'd really love to hear some of your experiences. We'll have time for some voice shares at the end, but because it's such a short webinar, we kind of have to crack on. And then if we run over 5 minutes at the end for sharing, then those who need to leave can leave, and those who don't can stay. But yeah, I would really love to have you share. Thank you for all of the sharings on the chat so far in terms of setting personal goals for expanding our own self-confidence, our own horizons, and loving all of the yeses and the nos. Okay. So the third key out of the 5 keys to true, feminine, faithful, spiritual self-confidence: action plans. So making a plan and sticking to it. And this is kind of related to the self-responsibility. It's a really good tool, especially at the beginning of our journey, to start to really show ourselves that we're capable of so much more than we thought. And how we did at the beginning, this releasing of the negative thinking, the negative stories we tell ourselves. This is like the next level of this, that you are actually proving that, I mean, those stories, they will persist, and we kind of have to constantly laugh at them and tell them that they're rubbish and then just words, it's not true. But you know, we can start proving through our actions and fulfilling our promises to ourselves and to others that we really are creative beings, and women are extremely naturally creative and natural manifestors, and we can do what we set out to do. And again, this is something that's been proved in studies, that by successfully completing a task, people have an increased belief that they can rely on themselves. And this is partly because, as well as the kind of practical and physical effects, there is also an energetic effect when you follow through, when you do the things that you set out to do and kind of fulfill your intention. Because similar to positive thinking, when we fulfill our word, this strengthens the literal power of your thought and of your word. So the more you can say you're going to do something and do it, your word becomes stronger. So then whenever you say something, it has more power. And you might have experienced this with people who, you know, say they're going to do things and then often they don't. Sadly, this can become a vicious cycle because, you know, they say it and it's like even they don't really believe it. There's not really any power there. And the more that we can fulfill the things that we say we're going to do, our word gets stronger. There's just this energetic force that kind of rallies around behind it, which also increases the overall power and force in your aura, in your energy field, which in turn means that you're increasingly likely to attract the things that you intend to. You become more of a magnet. And of course, by changing our behavior, we change our feelings. You know, there's this Einstein quote, the ultimate, like the craziest, though the ultimate insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Like, you know, for things to change, we have to change our behavior. And when we change our behavior, it changes the way we feel. The habit energy is really powerful, and we are creatures of habit. So, you know, when we commit to a new habit and we stick to it, it literally rewires things after a certain period of time. I think it's 48 days, 49 days ideally. You can like literally create the new neural pathways in your brain that make a new habit. So one of the things that I would recommend, kind of suggest for a homework, is to commit to a new habit, whatever it is, whatever you feel will kind of help you to strengthen in your self-confidence, make you feel kind of more present inside your body and more confident to realize your purpose. Give it a try, like commit to doing it daily for a certain period of time, and just see what happens. You can make the observation. One of the really great things about having a spiritual community of women, which is one of the things that we aim to create as a space here at Venus, is that we can be inspired by each other. You can see that, you know, there are other women who are also changing their lives, doing new things, making these great transformations, and you know, this inspires us to be able to do it ourselves, because many of people that we may know in ordinary life, especially after a certain age, don't change that much, which, you know, is okay. That's the way that some people live. But you know, if you're someone who is attracted by this idea of changing and growing and transforming, it's good to have this motivation of surrounding yourself, being kind of in a community space with other people who feel the same way, who also are interested in growth. Yeah, this can really lead to our own self-confidence. Also having the support, this accountability, is something that can really support us in completing things that we set out to do. Key number 4, practicing trust or faith. So like I was saying in the beginning, these things, trust, faith, surrender, kind of confidence in the capabilities of, or the potentials of others, is something that women can connect to quite easily. So we can also kind of reflect this back to our true self and having confidence in our true self. So faith, whatever you have faith in, ideally something bigger than yourself as a person, as a personality. Faith is the deepest trust because it's not based on something that you can prove, on something that's kind of physically there in front of your face. It's a feeling, it's an experience, and often one that's quite hard to convey in words, actually, because a lot of our experiences of faith happen at a level which is beyond words. It's beyond this actually quite limited cognitive, logical kind of level of words. So it's really quite hard to put in. There don't exist words for some of the things that we can feel thanks to faith. So it's more of an experience and a personally felt fact. So it's something that for you is absolutely true. It's not something that you can necessarily prove in a science lab, but you've felt it, it's true. And I think that we need to trust that more. So it's an embodied experience of truth, both our personal truth and also often with personal truth, it can be not just truth for us. We can start to feel more and more that this is truth for all women or for a larger group than us. We can start to kind of tune in more to what larger groups feel and experience. So apparently the Buddha said, feed your faith and your fears will starve to death. So it's also this kind of attitude of, where are you putting attention? Where are you putting your time, your energy? So I know that for some people it's hard. Certainly for me in the beginning it was hard, and something that really helped me to have more faith in myself, in my higher self, was to connect to that higher self outside of me. So if I can't see it yet in myself, I can see it in other people. And whether that's the Buddha or whether it's, a movie star who you think really embodies this confidence, or whether it's someone in your family or someone who's a teacher or any kind of role model in your life who you feel embodies and kind of has a lot of these qualities that you would like to have in yourself, through placing your faith in them and looking at them with this admiration and this belief, in time, you will start to, this faith that you project onto them, you will start to internalize it, and it will begin to be a faith in yourself. It's not really a process that happens in the mind, but with time and with this practice of placing trust in something or someone, it's like this quality of trust just grows more inside you. And then the more that you have of it, the more possible it is for you to have it in yourself. Trust exercises are really good for practicing physical faith. Again, if we were all in the same room, this is something that we do. But if you have a trusted friend, preferably someone reasonably physically strong, or or beloved, you can practice these exercises of trust, kind of falling backwards and letting them catch you. Or even, as you advance, things like acro yoga, or falling from a height, you stand up on a chair and they catch you. So obviously you don't want to, break anyone's back. So it has to be someone who is physically up to it. But the point is that through physically letting go, we can have this embodied experience. And once you've felt something, you can't really deny it. So when you can feel that you can place your trust, even your physical trust of the safety of your body, in someone else, and they follow through, it's a very reassuring experience. I certainly found it to be so. So finally, the big I. So we spoke about this at the beginning, placing our confidence, basing our confidence, not in things that we as a person have achieved on the material level, but in the big I and things that the big I can achieve. So the small I, this me, Miranda, every little person and their personality that always changes, and la la la, this is only defined through thought, and it's constantly changing. The bigger I, we don't really know it yet. It's something extremely mysterious. It's undefined. However you connect to this power that's greater than yourself, it's a journey of coming to know it both inside and outside yourself. And in fact, this is a universal purpose, I believe, of humanity, is to find this I. Sorry for that noise. To find this I and to bring it into the everyday life. So for everyone, this I is going to look different. And whether you know that that's what you're looking for or not, almost everyone is looking for it. Whether they're looking for it in family or in work or in God or in there, many places to look for it. But yeah, when we can really start to find it and bring it into our embodied experience, we start to experience a lot more our potential, that we are creative beings. But as humans, we have certain practical limits. But when we call in the big I, when we connect to the bigger I, we are tuning into something that has no limits. It's limitlessly creative. And this can begin to flow through us. So things manifest, they exist, and this is also a big reason for faith. Things exist on the unseen level, on the higher dimensions and the subtle planes of vibration before they come into the 3D, into the physical. So if you have faith in something, it will manifest in different ways, likely not always the way you might expect it to, but it will manifest on the physical more quickly. With a lot of our spiritual and self-development work that we do here at Venus, and you probably do individually, it starts off by working at this level, and then it kind of filters through into the physical. And when you have faith, you're in full alignment. It's this kind of law of attraction stuff. You're in full alignment with an idea or a desire. No part of you is saying no to it. You believe it. And so, you are you prepare yourself to receive it. You become like an empty vessel. There's a little Eckhart Tolle quote there about confidence. So the spiritual self-confidence that's not based on what you have achieved, but it comes from the depths of who you are, and it can flow into this moment. And again, this is a reason why the spiritual self-confidence is not an arrogance. It's not about saying that we are great or we're better or I'm such a special person. No, because it's actually not really anything to do with you. You have certain gifts, you have certain talents, but they're given to you. They're not, you're not the owner. It's kind of on loan, and it comes through you. And all people have this. Everyone at the core is part of the big I. So if we can connect into this level beyond the personal, we can connect to all humans and the source of life. So something that I invite you to do after today's session or throughout the rest of the week is to try and feel, what could this big I be for you? How do you connect to something that's a power larger than yourself? Because even if you don't believe necessarily in God or a conscious universe, or almost everyone can connect to having faith in something which is larger than themselves, whether it's a group or whether it's Mother Nature, or it's just some examples. But yeah, I invite you to connect to the ones that are kind of truest for you. So here are just a few of our events coming up at Venus in the upcoming days. We have the sacred belly dance going on. We have the Yoni Tantra yoga. And very importantly, we have our ongoing women's circle, which happens every 2 weeks on a Thursday. So next, yes, and that's I facilitate that together with Andrea for those in the south of England and international, and Andrea facilitates it for those in the north. So yeah, from next week, we're starting module 2, where we're speaking a lot about the body as a temple, which links in a lot to this idea of self-confidence, and speaking about how in Tantra and Taoism, other spiritual traditions, having this different perspective upon the body helps us to have more self-confidence, more love, more of a deeper understanding of what our body is for and what it can teach us and show us. We'll also be speaking about the chakras and kind of connecting to them on different levels. The chakras are connected also to the endocrine system, so we'll speak about hormones and things. And yeah, the links are in the chat, so more information can certainly be found on our website, our social media. So would anyone like to share their experience tonight, or anything that kind of came up for you? Good. Okay, so thank you everyone, and thank you so much, Catalin, for sharing that down there. And yeah, we were really happy to see you here this evening, and really look forward to connecting with you in our Venus events and community in the future. So thank you so much. The yes/no exercise felt really empowering. Yeah, I love that exercise.
I think Francesca wants to ask something.
Please.
Can I? Thank you both. I just first of all, thank you. It was really insightful, very beautifully put together. I just have a question about the aspect of faith and trust, more trust, I suppose, than faith. What if you encounter a situation where someone just makes you understand, you know, as a woman, as you were saying, we put a lot of trust in people, and then the situation clearly shows that, you know, that trust is not there, or like people have misbehaved, and then you are in a situation where you have to kind of withdraw your trust in that environment, but obviously you don't want to surrender your trusting capacity to what happens to you. How would it be good to, you know, deal with the situation, or, you know, to just have a relationship with these people so that, you know, your yeses are yeses and noes are noes, but equally you don't, you know, lower your kind of trust levels because of what happened?
Yeah, thank you, Francesca. So just to clarify, so you're saying if there are situations where people have kind of, you've placed your trust in them and they haven't ultimately been worthy of that trust, how to make sure that our trust levels don't lower because of that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and also how to relate to them.
Yes.
Result.
Yeah. So the ultimate trust can't usually be placed in human beings, because human beings tend to mess up. We're still works in progress. We make mistakes, and that's where it's really good as a woman to feel a lot into the yeses and nos help with this, because it's very linked to your discernment. So if you can trust your intuition, your gut, your yeses and your nos, and use this with discernment to say, okay, so, objectively, what has happened here is this person has acted in a way which has shown that, they're not worthy of my trust. I've trusted them, and they somehow didn't act in a way that I would have wanted them to. And then when you can see that this is kind of what's happened, you can learn from it, and you can kind of use this to reinforce your own discernment, and to kind of help your body to feel and to know when it's in a situation where this might possibly happen again. So all of us have patterns, often in relationships especially. We all have things that we repeat and kind of mistakes that we repeat until we really learn our lesson. So everything is our teacher. So, if you placed your trust in someone and they did something to hurt you, we can be thankful and we can learn from that. It doesn't mean that we need to continue to place our trust in them. That's where we can bring our discernment in. We can learn the lesson quickly, and we can choose to either remain, in a relationship with them, or to move on. And this is where forgiveness is really important, because either one, whether you continue to interact with them and continue to trust them, or whether you say, kind of, this is it for me, this is a boundary for me, and I'm stepping back, I'm using my no. Either way, forgiveness is really important, and will help you to kind of loosen the bonds that you might have. So the more that you can trust in your big I, the less trust in a way you need to place in others, especially others who can't necessarily fulfill that trust, because you are feeling more into what it is that you need and what's right and wrong for you and your body and your heart. And so hopefully the more that we can do this, the less we'll end up in situations where we place our trust in people who couldn't handle it. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Amazing.
Thank you.
Hello, Miranda.
Hi.
Hi, this is Jackie. I'm off screen at the moment because I have a cold. You really don't want to see me.
Oh, I do, but, it's okay.
I'm wondering if I can ask you a very quick question. It's about manifesting. And you were saying that in order to manifest something into your life, you have to be aligned with faith. Whereas I find it very difficult to manifest things into my life because I'm too attached to the idea that I must have faith. I must be 100%, I must believe. And I find that the attachment to the idea of having to have 100% faith prevents stuff from coming into my life. Whereas sometimes I manifest things into my life because I kind of thought, oh yeah, I'd like that, but I forgot about it. And then it comes into my life. Oh my God. Is it okay for me to have doubt?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really good to voice it. When we have doubt and we kind of hide it and we don't speak about it, that's when it can kind of grow and bubble and stagnate. So it's really, really good to speak about it, and totally normal. But I think what you really hit on there, Jackie, right? I think what you hit on there is this idea of detachment. So it's, when you're really holding on to the idea of, okay, here's the formula of life, and I'm really attached to that, and I have to do this in order to manifest, and you're kind of clinging onto it. And with this clinging, the space isn't created for it to come. Whereas when you've been able to detach and kind of open up your vision, the things that you've needed have come to you. Because also a lot of times when we're kind of coming from the mind or from the small I, we can have like this little checklist of, you know, these are things that I need and I need to manifest them, and when I manifest them I'll be happy. And we're not always right. Whereas the things that the universe, God, however you want to call it, the kind of the things that it sends you, you know, kind of sometimes really unexpectedly, are often the things that you need, that bring you the lessons that you need to learn. Yeah, we don't always know exactly what it is we need, and sometimes it's the surprises that we can actually learn the most from if we're really like open and accepting and present with them. So thank you. Thanks for that sharing. I really liked it. I love your honesty. Okay, ladies, so if there aren't any more questions, then we'll call it a night. And yeah, good luck with manifesting your most confident self. Remember, trust, faith, belief, and just do it, because you are this. And yeah, look forward to seeing many of you at our future events. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. It was such an important seminar, this.
Thank you.
For us women. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you, Kathleen.